Hello, darling cherubs. Today we're going to talk about brainstorming ideas for your story. So do me a favor and pretend that this screen you're looking at is a page of your notebook, and you might actually want to have your notebooks out. At the top, you can write this title, Story Idea Generation, and we're going to be talking about some ways to generate ideas for our stories. So I think that we already talked about the importance of making sure we're choosing stories that are the right size. So you want to choose a small moment and not something too enormous. So the way we can think about it is we can think about a watermelon or a seed. And so rather than tell a story that's a giant watermelon like my sister, there's just too much I could say about my sister. I couldn't fit it all into one single story. A seed might be a specific moment with my sister that I can stretch out and add lots of details to. So as you're thinking about your story for your story slam, you want to make sure that you are choosing a small moment, a seed, not a watermelon. And you want to make sure that you're able to add details about that moment. Now, one of the methods that you can use as you're brainstorming is to do something called a heart map. And a heart map we already talked about together in class. And if I had a notebook on a webcam right now, I could do this better. But basically, what you do is you would draw a nice, lovely heart. So let's pretend that we can open up the drawing thing. Let's draw a heart. Um, so if I was in here, and let's pretend you're using your pen in your notebook, um, and we're scribbling, you might draw a nice, beautiful heart. Yay! That's not the most beautiful heart I ever made, but whatever. And then inside of your heart, you're going to write down a variety of different items that are especially close to your heart. So, for example, you might write something like um, family. And you might also write something, let's make this a little smaller here, family. You might also write something like um, a place that you love. So for me, a place that I love, I've mentioned in class, is a place called Friends Lake. You might also want to write something like a certain family member. Like for me, my parents are really important to me. Also in your heart map, you might want to put something like a pet or a certain friend. I could put, for me, something really close to my heart is my students. So I want to include that. And now when I look at these four things that I put right in the center of my heart, I can start thinking of other ideas that come up because of these ideas. So for example, my students make me think about Collingswood Middle School. And Collingswood Middle School makes me think about my house, which is also in Collingswood. And so I could put Collingswood, and then I could also put um, first house, because I've never bought a house before until this one, so my first house. And then I could write about um, my roommate, and I could also write about my tiny little library that's in my front yard. So as I think about these different things, I start to fill up my heart. And again, you're doing this in writing in your notebook. So what you see right here is like kind of an ugly version of what you're going to be doing. But that's an example of your heart map. And your heart map is great because you can go back to it whenever you're looking for a story idea. And if you've really filled it up thoughtfully, you will find stories that fit so many different themes. So for example, if I was going to tell a story at a story slam and the theme was, let's say the theme was overcoming obstacles, I could go into my heart map and look and say, let's see, overcoming obstacles. And I look at words like, okay, so my tiny little library, an obstacle I had with that was I had to learn to be patient and overcome the obstacle of figuring out how I was going to build this library, because I don't know if you guys know, but I am not very good at building things. So I needed to overcome that obstacle so that I could achieve having this little teeny library that I wanted. Um, for my when it says my first house, an obstacle for that was just figuring out how to buy a house, how to find the right house that I wanted. I didn't really know how to do that. I'd never done it before. So when I figured that out, I overcame an obstacle and I was able to buy my first house. So for all these things, maybe not all of them, but for a lot of them, I can think of an obstacle I overcame that has to do with these things. And if the theme was something different, maybe it's the theme of facing your fears. I could go in here and think, is there any time with my parents where I had to face my fears? And I can think, yes, there was the time that I had to have a conversation with my parents about something that was uncomfortable, and I had to face the fear and have that conversation. So this heart map can be a source of inspiration for you. So what I would suggest is that you pause this video right now if you haven't made your heart map, and you take some time to make it. And when you're finished, come back. I'll be here. Hey, you're back. Great to see you. Okay, so next brainstorming suggestion I have for you is to basically make lists. And so in your notebook, if you're making a list, what you're going to do is this thing here. You are going to think of, well, oh no, that's bad, ugly. Um, Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Um, so after you make your heart map, here we go. You're going to do something else. You're going to make a list. So lists are a really good way to come up with ideas quickly and easily. So what you're going to do is I'm going to give you some suggested topics, and I want you to pause after I give you a topic that appeals to you, and just pause the video and make that list. So for example, the first list I'm going to ask you to make is a list of first times. And I want you to basically think of as many first times in your life that you can remember that are memorable. So, for example, for me, I would say first time, I don't have to write first time every time I do it, but trying guacamole. That was a major first time. Another first time that I remember that could be a funny story is slow dancing with a boy. It was at the sixth grade dare dance, and I slow danced with several boys, and they all had really sweaty hands. But anyway, that could be a story. I could do the first time I went to a funeral slash experienced someone's death. Um, that was something that really impacted me, and it was a first time that I could talk about. I could do the first time that I traveled outside the United States, and I could go into more detail, talk about my trip to Austria. I could say the first time let's see, what else? And see, I'm obviously I have to take some time to think about this, just like you will. So take some time, try and come up with at least 5 to 10 things on this list. Maybe the first time I sang in front of an audience by myself. Um, that was a big thing in 5th grade. So stop right now, pause me again, and make your list of first times. I'll be right here when you're ready. Oh, you're back? Great. Okay, so another list you could make would be something like big, what do I want to call it? Let's call it, you could call it, major life successes. Or maybe you could call it moments you're proud of. Lots of different things you could call it. For me, major life successes, I might think of opening night of The Lion King, which is the middle school musical at CMS that I directed a few years ago. That was a major life success for me, being able to successfully get 85 kids onto a stage performing Circle of Life, and I could tell that story. Another major life success for me would be getting my master's degree, which is the degree you get after you go to college and you continue on for more school. Another major life success could be, it could be participating in the America's Junior Miss pageant, which was all kinds of crazy. Another major life success could be, um, hmm, speaking at high school graduation. That was something I was always really working hard to achieve. Another major life success could be winning the VFW Voice of Democracy contest, which was a super nerdy slash awesome contest that I won in high school 2 years in a row, and I was really proud of myself for that. So you want to think about major life successes. If you want, press pause right now and make that list for yourself. All right, unpause. Next thing, let's see, you could make a list of serious difficulties. For example, I could write about losing my grandmother. I could write about getting over my cross-country injury, lots of things. Lists are a great way to brainstorm. Highly recommend it. Do it today, and you can come up with some great story ideas.